This meeting is being recorded.
All right, hello and welcome everyone to the free and low cost programming for youth webinar. My name is Beth Yates. I am the children's consultant from the Indiana State Library's Professional Development Office, and I will be the host and question moderator for today. And our presenter today is Bambi P., a supervisor librarian at the Indianapolis Public Library Warren branch. A few more announcements. To register for other webinars or other trainings available from the Professional Development Office, please see the Indiana State Library's events calendar, which can be found on our website at www.in.gov/library, and then it's under Services for Libraries. This session is 1 hour, so you are eligible to receive 1 LEU for this presentation. If you're watching a recording of this webinar, instructions on how to obtain your LEU are in the video's description on YouTube, or you can also find those instructions on the Indiana State Library's continuing education site under LEU policies. But in short, when you watch a recording, someone in administration at your library should create a certificate for you because they're the ones who can verify that you watched. Okay. I think that we are ready to get started. So again, our presenter today is Bambi P. of the Indianapolis Public Library. Please take it away, Bambi.
Thank you so much and welcome everybody. I'm really surprised that we have so many people from all across the country to come and learn about these programming ideas. I'm super excited to share. This program is free and low cost programming. And let's get started. So, my name is Bambi P. and I work for the Warren branch of the Indianapolis Public Library. I have been a librarian in youth services for about 15 years. I've worked in 2 separate library systems, and my undergrad is in elementary education and special education. So I've been working with kiddos for a pretty long time. And so what is free or low cost programming? It's exactly what it sounds like. It's programs that we provide here at our branch that cost either very small amounts of money or they are completely free because we use up what we have in our branch. With this type of programming, I really just try to save everything that I can from home, from bottle caps to water bottles to cardboard tubes. I am fortunate enough to have a grandmother who is constantly dropping off craft materials to my home. So all of those get used in programming, and that includes things such as yarn or crochet hooks or anything else that she may have donated by elderly friends of hers. And I also do what I call programming on the fly. So that is more like story times where I just pick up a few of my favorite books and songs that I just know in my head whenever I see a group of children who have just come to a visit to the library. So instead of it being a scheduled time, I see a lot of kids, we're going to go out there and have some fun and play. So, we think about youth programming and we think kind of about like, what is our purpose? We really want the kids to enjoy being at the library. We want them to view the library as a place that's fun and that they want to come back to. And by doing these on the fly programming or little take home craft kits or things like that, it allows us to make things very fun, and our children really enjoy coming back. Was there a question?
I don't think so. I don't think so, Bambi.
Sorry. I just wanted to check. We even do things as simple as when we have those little 8x8 character books that come in with all the stickers, we don't circulate them with the stickers. So we cut them up and have them at the desk to give the children a sticker when they come to the children's area. And it encourages them to talk to us. They're not afraid to ask us questions because they've got something nice from us before and they enjoy coming up and speaking to us. And I think that carries over into adulthood as well. You know, if they were a child who wasn't afraid of the librarian, wasn't afraid to speak to the librarian, as adults, they still are very comfortable asking those questions. So let's talk about some barriers to programming. Usually it's money and time and resources. I know we all are short-staffed probably, we have limited resources and we have limited money that we can throw towards all of these programs. And I think that's something nationwide. So a lot of the materials that we do have or that we can get access to, the cardboard rolls, the bottles or bottle caps, pop tabs. I use pop tabs a lot to make crafts with teenagers. They really enjoy making bracelets and all types of things out of them. We have paper, cardboard from food boxes. So this is like the outside of if you buy cereal or if you buy fruit snacks or just anything that comes in a cardboard box. I save all those cardboard boxes and we will use them for other things. And then Cheerios and Fruit Loops, which you can usually get off-brand Cheerios and Fruit Loops and get them relatively cheap. And I've had the same bag for a year. I make sure to tell the kids not to eat them because they are expired. Please don't use them. And then things that our library provides that we have a little bit of money to purchase. So we have construction paper, we have glue sticks, cardstock, crayons, markers, and pencils, which I strongly suggest purchasing at back to school time when they're all marked down really low. So buy more than you ever think you could need. We have books. We have storytime supplies, our scarves, shakers, felt boards that we have created. And we have discarded books. I do a lot of crafts with discarded books. So to start off, we have our children who are in that birth to 5 range. These are the kids that are usually coming for your story times or, you know, just little babies that are in the building. A lot of times I will do those impromptu story times if I see that they are in the building. If I have leftover crafts from story time, which if anybody's like me, I always have anywhere from 1 to 5 crafts every single time that I do story time left over. And what do you do with those? I like to take them and put them in paper bags with a picture of what it's supposed to look like on the outside and a little slip of paper with some book recommendations that might go along with that theme. And I put them out as take-home kits. And I advertise them by saying, if you couldn't make it to story time, you can do this story time at home. And here's your craft. Those are wildly popular. I actually have daycares who will come in and just clear out everything that I have. They really enjoy those. And then when I'm doing those impromptu story times, I also like to bring out some of the props that I have used. During story time, the scarves are really easy to collect afterwards. The egg shakers are really easy to collect afterwards. And the kids have a really great time. And at this time, you can really promote a lot of the programming that you have coming up in your library, or the fact that you do story time. A lot of people just don't know when that story time is, and then you can have more participants attending story times or other library programming. And it gives you an opportunity to talk to the parents and give out those literacy tips. And this is why we do things the way that we do. So now we move on to the more creative, fun stuff. With school age kids, they really enjoy simple crafts with reused materials. We have made several craft kits with directions and put those in those paper bags and stick them out. Typically, at the beginning of summer reading, we make up about 600 bags of about 8 different crafts, and we put them out and they're all gone in the first 3 weeks of summer reading. We also will have STEM challenges and sheets for them to take home. Like, these are everyday materials that most people might have at home. Here's a project you can do with those, some type of a science experiment or anything to that nature. We do a lot of scavenger hunts. So I will hide pictures of pigeon throughout the entire children's department. And if you can find all the pigeons in the children's department, you can come up to the desk and get a sucker. It gets them exploring in the stacks and they really enjoy it. And we sometimes will host a day for board game donations from the community, and they also like to donate craft supplies at this time. I never check to see if all the pieces are there, because even if the pieces are not there, I can use whatever is there either in a creating a board game program, and we have, you know, donated boards, or we can use the pieces in some type of an art project or things of that nature. So next I'm going to show you some of the other STEM challenge things. We have a STEM club at our library. So they come once a month and we do a different type of STEM challenge every time. So our first one is the basketball tower challenge. I saved newspapers from ones that we are going to weed and discard. And the only thing I have to really purchase is the masking tape to hold it together. And I just bring a basketball from home. So we try to create a tower as tall as you can to support a basketball. And, you know, the winner of the challenge, not that there's a prize or anything, is whoever's tower can be the tallest. This program usually takes about an hour to an hour and a half. And that's because when they get so far into it, if they're like, it's just not holding it, well, what should we change? If it's not tall enough, what can we change? They can always be adapting it as you're going through it. They really seem to enjoy this one. Another really simple one is our balloon tower. This one is kind of the same concept. We buy really cheap balloons from like a Dollar Tree or something like that. And we have masking tape. So we get to blow up a whole bunch of balloons and try to create the tallest tower, you know, and they really have to think about creating the base and how tall they can really make it. They just have a really great time. Next is paper airplanes. We always have a ton of paper and we have tape in the building. I usually use my own change as the cargo so we can see who can build an airplane that can hold the most cargo and fly the furthest. And then they, in the course of doing all of this, they are trying to make adaptations to the airplane. What can I change? And we promote the library's collection with all of these by having paper airplane books out, or, you know, bridge building or things like that, so they can take ideas from things that are successfully built, get ideas from that, and try to see how they can make things taller or make things stronger. But they really enjoy the paper airplane one. I don't suggest doing this one in any room where they can get stuck up in the lights. We've had to clean out lots of paper airplanes out of lights. We also do this flower craft. So that's part of our STEM or STEAM program that we do. So this is all cardboard boxes from either granola bars or Go-Gurt or cereal, just wherever we can get cardboard from. And you just challenge them to cut shapes out and arrange it on the paper to either look like a flower or look like a sun or whatever you decide for them to create that day. It's a very versatile program because you can always change what you're challenging them to create using these pieces of cardboard. Are there any questions so far? Good.
Yeah, none yet. Just a
Okay.
reminder, if people have questions, you can put them in the chat as we go. And I'll get
Yeah,
them to
please do. I'm happy to answer anything that we've done with any of these programs. One of my favorites to do with these school age kids is challenge them to create a robot. The target audience for the flower craft, I usually make it a kindergarten through 5th grade. The teens enjoy doing it as well. So it's not, there's no real limitations. For the much younger kids, it gives them practice at using their scissor skills. That's something a lot of kindergarten and 1st grade students really struggle with, is scissors. And then the rest of it's just gluing it all together. And I try to stick with simple because then we would need more time. If we tried to make it much more complicated, we would need more time. And there are other programs that I've done too, as far as STEM related. I've done robotics programming. I've done scratch animation programming and all those kinds of things. You just need the time dedicated to that. So the question, is there a line between collecting materials normal to throw away and becoming a hoarder? Yes. I usually just limit myself to a tote full of each individual material. And once it's full, then I start throwing things away. And then once I notice that I need a little bit more, then I'll start saving them again. I'm really the only person who saves things. It's not a branch-wide thing, so I'm not constantly getting a whole lot of materials dumped on me all at one time. So back to the recycled robot. This, I put out all the random materials that I have, the pipe cleaners, the bottle caps, googly eyes. The inside of that is the cardboard tube and it's wrapped in foil. I don't reuse foil. So usually this is new foil. And then I don't reuse straws. So they're all new straws. Just whatever materials you could think that they could possibly envision to be a part of a robot. I just put it all out, and the challenge is to create a robot. What can we do? It doesn't have to move on its own or anything like that, but just the idea of creating something that looks like a robot, and you usually get a lot of really fun results out of this one. And for those of you that are interested, please don't try to write down all of these. I am going to send my PowerPoint presentation to Beth so she can release it along with my Pinterest page, because there's a whole lot more on my Pinterest page. So that will be available to you later if you need to come back to these ideas. So the group that's really near and dear to my heart is teenagers. I work a lot with teenagers. We have a bunch of them in our library every day after school. And they're always looking for something to do so we aren't getting in trouble in the library. And so I do a lot of impromptu books discussions, going around the teens, seeing what their interests are and how I can take all of these supplies and really tailor it to their interests. So we have our impromptu book club, which does not look like a typical book club. In that book club, we meet once a month and we just talk about books, not an assigned book because they have enough assigned to them through the school year. So I don't want to have to put one more thing on them every single month to come and talk about, but we just sit in there. I bring in all the brand new books that we have acquired in the last month for teens, and we talk about the types of books that they are interested in. And I can usually give book recommendations from there. So it's not just a typical book club. We also have a teen advisory group. So they come in once a month and we talk about what they're into, what they would like to see in the library, any volunteering projects they would be interested in participating in. We do a lot of things with Post-its. They really enjoy the Post-its. So we do Post-it art and we will put it up all over the teen room once it's been approved. And I know that it's appropriate because teens will try to sneak that in there too. But they like that they get a sense of ownership by having their own artwork or something that they created up in our little teen space. I feel like library differently when they feel like they're a part of it. Okay, so a lot of engagement with the teen advisory board. I had to limit it to 12, but our teens are required to have volunteer hours for graduation. So they get volunteer hours by participating in the teen advisory board. But I have a lot more teens who want to participate and they will still give me ideas outside of it, but I still limit it to the 10 or 12. Otherwise it just becomes very overwhelming. The approval process for drawings. So I will give them a Post-it and they can go and draw on it. They have to bring it to me and I have to say that it's okay before it's allowed to be stuck up anywhere in the teen room. I do make passes through to make sure that they didn't just put it up on their own without getting approval. Not going to say that nothing's ever got past me, but usually they tell on each other. So it makes my work pretty easy, but that, that comes from having a relationship with our teams. And they know that if they get caught doing things like that, it's not something we're going to do for a while now because somebody abused the privilege, and they actually enjoy doing the artwork with the Post-its. We also do Post-it bookmark suggestions. Again, they have to be approved. But I don't rule them out based on if it's a positive or a negative book review. Even the bad book reviews still get left in there. It's just the appropriateness with which they are giving their opinion. We do coloring ornaments and hang them up in the room around different holidays. They really like Star Wars ones, and those are just something as simple as finding a cute coloring page and cropping out the characters that they really like and making them smaller and hole punching them, adding some yarn, and all of a sudden it's an ornament. They enjoy origami. They enjoy playing board games, which is where we get the board game donations. So they are then allowed to play those board games and bring them back up to the reference desk when they are finished. And we do a lot of recycled book crafts. So I'm going to show you some of these things that we have done. So I save a lot of my graphic novels when they get weeded, and I will just cut the pages out of them so they don't even have to know which one that it came out of, but most of the time they know anyways. They can cut the portions out that they want. They can color them. We have a small laminator machine, so we will laminate them and cut them out, and they just add a small piece of ribbon. And now they have a fancy bookmark that could be from a series that they really enjoy. Most of the time, they just really like the pictures too. So that they will actually do this for hours, going through and coloring the ones that are black and white before having them laminated or adding little words in. They really enjoyed this one a lot. We also do these Sharpie coasters. So Sharpie coasters, I get the coasters from a store similar to Home Depot or Lowe's, anything like that. They cost about, here in Indiana, they cost about 11 cents a piece. So they're very, very cheap. And we have a stash of Sharpie markers. So the kids get to go through and color however they want on the top of these coasters, make their own designs, use whatever colors they want. And then a little effect happens when you either spray or use a dropper to put rubbing alcohol on top of it. And the last time I did this, the teens got really creative with just moving the coaster around to make that rubbing alcohol go around in different places. Also blowing the liquids around with a straw. They made a lot of really neat designs. They thoroughly enjoy these, and there's really not a coating that you have to put on the top. So it's just once they're air dried, they're good. This, I think, is one of their favorite crafts to do whenever we do it. And they will spend lots of times creating lots of them. But again, the rubbing alcohol is really cheap. And we already have the stash of the Sharpie, so it's just purchasing those coasters. So for, $5, you can get quite a lot of them, and they can go a long way. I actually have a few of them in my office where I was gifted a bunch. So cell phone holders, this is one of our back to school crafts that we usually do at the beginning of the school year. So they can cut these cardboard tubes into this shape and then use the Sharpies to either draw on them or create whatever designs they want on the outside. Or we had a stash of washi tape donated, so they can cover them in washi tape, and it's like a stand for their cell phone. I don't know how long they really last, but they enjoy getting to make lots of various designs, and usually takes a while to cover the whole thing if they're coloring it with Sharpie. So this would be like an hour and a half long program, and they would probably get 1 or 2 of them done, depending on if they went the tape route or the Sharpie route, or a combination. So this looks really simple. This is just cardboard squares that had notches cut in them. And whenever the teens would, or actually really any of the kids would come in during summer reading, we would allow them to take a square of cardboard and add it to a sculpture that had been started on top of one of our shorter bookshelves. They could rearrange what was already there. They could, just add theirs and walk away, but it was something that was cumulative over all of summer reading, and it ended up being quite large. And it was just a fun way to reuse a whole bunch of cardboard that we had from boxes being delivered into the library. And the kids would come in once a week just to see how much it had grown, or to point out their piece that they had put on it. Some of the kids would take markers and actually decorate these pieces of cardboard, or write their favorite book title on it so they knew which one was theirs. So they very, very much enjoyed all of this project. So the next thing that I like to do is they love playing Sudoku. So this is simple enough you can find patterns for different Sudoku games in some of those Sudoku books, and you can just kind of type it up and then add numbers on Post-it notes down at the bottom so that they can try to complete the Sudoku puzzle. They really love this challenge, and you can make one and leave it up for 2-3 weeks at a time before it gets completed. And sometimes the teens will leave their numbers up there that they've already figured out. And sometimes they will clear the board because they're not helping the next person. It's really just their own preference. It's quite entertaining to watch. But this one's very fun. You can do the same thing with crosswords. You can make very large word searches, and they can use a marker to find the words. We have also done pixelated pictures. So I think it's on Amazon. You can find sticker pictures that are very large like this, and they provide you with all the little sticker squares, and they coordinate with a letter. And you just give each child or teen a strip of like 6 or 7 squares, and they have to go put them on the main picture, covering up the number that they correspond with until the picture is done. That is one we have going on all summer reading because it takes the whole summer reading to complete. Teens also enjoy the Blackout poetry. So this is another thing that I do with the book pages that are not graphic novels, just with print all over them. We go through and circle the words that they like to make their poem. And then we try to either black out or create some kind of picture that goes along with their poem out of the entire rest of the page, leaving just those words showing. These show some laminated ones. I made some laminated ones to serve as examples, but they will sit for hours doing this and using watercolor to color in the background, or just using Sharpies to color in the background. And it's all supplies that we already have. So they really, really enjoy doing that. Our communications department was nice enough to make up these Post-it notes for book reviews. So whenever somebody reads a book, if they would like to write a book review, they can ask us for one of these Post-its. They can fill it out, and then we look at it, and it just goes on the inside cover of the book. So I think for kids and teens, it means a lot if somebody else really enjoyed the book, or someone else really wanted to make sure that other people knew this was great. Or, the flip side of that, if I could not finish this book, I could not get past chapter 5. Those are real reviews too. So we leave all of those in. So people have to come to the question is, how do you hand out numbered stickers for the pictures so that one person doesn't finish the picture in one day? That's a really good question. We cut them into those strips, and they're only allowed to get 1 strip of stickers a day. Sometimes if it's getting really close to the end of summer reading and there's still a lot of it left, because it is a very large picture and it is a lot of stickers. Sometimes we'll let them have more than 1 if they ask, but usually we just give them the 1 strip of stickers. But the book reviews, we even have adults who do these book reviews too, for a lot of the books in the library. And I think our patrons really enjoy reading them just to get someone else's opinion of that specific book. Because we as librarians read lots of book reviews and make our own decisions. This is a way for the patrons to have a part of that too. We also do the sticky note art. This is another one you have to watch really closely to make sure that the pictures are appropriate. But once they figure out that you really are monitoring what they're putting out, they tend to stick to the straight and narrow. But this is just giving them a Post-it note and some markers or colored pencils or just pencils, and let them create their own art. And these I will leave up for as long as possible. And I tell them after it's been up, they can come back at any point in time and take their picture if they would like their picture, if they would like to keep it. But they really feel like they get ownership of the library. And I've had lots of kids bring in their parents to say, look what I made, and it's up here in the library and everybody can see it. They get very, very excited about that. A lot of other programming that we have done. Of course, the kits with the teens, or yeah, I do craft kits with teens too. So even with making friendship bracelets, as long as you include all the directions on how to do whatever the craft is, and I include the basic materials. So I might give, for the friendship bracelets, I might give them a safety pin and some of that embroidery floss, and then the directions on how to do it. Anything that I feel would be something typical in a household or something that would be impossible for us to give out, I don't include in those kits. Like I don't include glue sticks, but I will buy the little 1 ounce Dixie cups with lids, and I will include paint if it's something that needs paint. Because not everybody has access to like acrylic paints or tempera paints. And I don't include scissors. It's really hard to include tape unless you wrap it around something that it will come back off of. We have lots of those craft kits that we put out. Does anyone have any questions so far that I haven't already answered?
I don't think we've missed any, but if you think that we've missed your question, please feel free to paste it back into the bottom. Otherwise, I think we're good.
Okay, so just by putting something in the chat, do you feel like these are some ideas you could implement in your library? I know they work really well at ours, but I know other people have very different situations wherever they are. Yay, I'm so excited. I feel like the book club is the biggest one because it's not pressuring the teens to read yet another book during the school year. I will have to look into where the book review sticky notes come from, and I will let Beth know that so she can stick it or send it out to everybody, because I really do not know where they got them, but our comms department is very resourceful and they are fabulous.
Yeah, they're probably printers either that your library already works with or in your community or online that you could send a design to and have printed.
Yeah, I would think so. I know that there are people on Etsy that you can order things from too. And I don't, since everybody's kind of all across the country, it might be some kind of a local printer might be able to do that. Yeah, I feel like I missed some things.
Yeah, I'm just going through to see if there's any additional questions. Lots of compliments.
Thank you. I will definitely send the giant pixel art picture link. I'll be able to get that for Beth as well.
Yeah. And you said you just find those on Amazon?
I'm pretty sure they ordered them off of Amazon, but I can't, we order from so many different places.
Sure. There used to be a company up until very recently that also made them, but I think they've gone out of business, unfortunately.
So I see a question about how do you send the Dixie cups with lids? So I tape the lids on them and then I just kind of set them very carefully inside the brown paper bag. And I put like a warning on the outside. There is paint inside, so please be careful. I think the glue dots would be an excellent idea. I had not thought of that before. I just feel like those would be very expensive. Sometimes I'll put a list on the outside of this is things you might need to have at home to do this craft.
William wanted to know, is the sticky note art panel blocked off somehow? How do you get them to submit instead of just putting them on without telling?
So getting them to submit without just putting them on was a lot of relationship building with the teens. And I also frequently, so I have them on our bookends. There's not really a specific spot for them other than at the end of our bookshelves. And I just make laps through whenever I know that I have them working on them. And if I see anything inappropriate, I'm not quiet about it. I take it down and I throw it away. We have discussed, you know, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, what we can put up and what we can't put up. And so they aren't surprised when I take it down.
We had a question about whether folks, actually a few people asked if they could get the slides from this presentation. And yes, Bambi and I already discussed. She's sending me a copy that I will share out with the recording and also post with the recording on the archived webinar page on the State Library's website. So yep, those will be available. I also put Bambi's Pinterest page in the chat, and that will also be shared with the recording and posted on the State Library's archived webinar page.
And the small condiment containers do work very well for that paint. I think it is Dixie brand that sells them as like a set where you can purchase 50 of them at a time. And that's typically what we use. Trying to go through and see what I may have missed. So some things outside of what is on this presentation that I have done before. So I have brought out all my materials that I keep in my little stash, and I still have a boy who is 12 who still plays with action figures. And so one of my STEM projects will be if they can design something with all of those materials to make this action figure float in water. And I make sure to bring the ones that sink, that are really heavy. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are usually really heavy. So can we design something that floats this character in the water? That one's usually pretty popular too. I noticed a lot of people saying things about having STEM club, and we have purchased through Amazon several electrical circuit kits. Those go over really, really well. We've got a lot of use out of those. But just doing any kind of STEM challenge, usually, well, if you go to my Pinterest page, there's a whole board designated to STEM challenges you can do. And a lot of them are with materials that you would have at home or probably already have in the library. Do I have any specific ideas or activities for spring break? Usually around spring break, I start talking with the kiddos about planting seeds and gardening. We have a small raised bed garden in our property here. So we will, get green bean seeds and design greenhouses for them to watch green bean seeds sprout once they take them home. Or we will decorate tin cans that vegetables and stuff come in that I clean out after I've used them. And I poke holes in the bottom of them beforehand and make sure that when you do it, that the pointy parts are going inside the container, not outside the container, because kids will cut themselves. And we plant seeds that way. And they will come back literally for weeks with pictures of how their plants are progressing. And we will decorate the outside of those containers with either paint or with stickers that we have from various 8x8 books. They love decorating with stickers. Do I have any events that would be good to get kids in the library in the first place? Yes. So we used to do at my last library system, and it was huge, especially for getting men and boys into the library. We would partner with Rent-A-Center or Aaron's or both at the same time. We had a circulating video game collection. So around Super Bowl weekend, we would do a Madden tournament that anyone was allowed to participate in, and it was a double elimination tournament. It took an entire day, but Aaron's and Rent-A-Center would donate the TVs and all the gaming consoles, and we would save the newest Madden game that we had just ordered for our collection. Before we circulated it, it was part of this tournament, and we would get hundreds of young boys and men to come in and compete. And we would call local food trucks, and they would come and sit in our parking lot so that there was food available, but the library hadn't paid for the food. There was just the food trucks being there, and the people could go out and purchase their own food and come back in between their turns playing. That was a huge event. Other events that we have done that were great to get kids in the library, especially for like a summer reading kickoff, is we would do a Touch a Truck program. And we would call the local police department, the local EMTs, the local fire department, and some farmers would bring farm equipment and just park it in our parking lot, and we would rope it off, and the kids could go around and actually climb around in all of these vehicles and, you know, ask whatever questions they have. Now, it's always with the understanding for the EMTs or the fire department or the police that if something happens and they get a call and they have to leave, then they have to leave. And that's always fine. But the children really enjoy seeing the inside of all these vehicles that they just idolize. We also will do science experiments at our desk. So like the typical science experiment of cutting a flower stem and putting it in different colored water to watch the white carnation turn all these different colors. They love watching that. We put it at the reference desk next to the librarian so it doesn't get played with, but we have done that. We have also hatched chickens. Our local Purdue Extension would provide us with fertilized eggs and an incubator for $20, and we could keep it until all the chickens hatched. The only catch to that is the chickens are yours once they hatch. So we had local farmers who would come and pick them up, so the library didn't constantly have chickens. We've also hatched ladybugs, and we have hatched butterflies, and people will come back in for weeks to see the progression of that as well.
Bambi, I just wanted to give you a time check. It is 2:46. I
Okay.
didn't know how many more slides you wanted to get through, but just so you know. And then what else did I want to ask? Oh, I wanted to just also mention that getting people into the library, sometimes that's a matter of publicity also. Like, what approaches are you taking? How much are you getting out to the community and going to where they are if you're able to? I know that can be difficult for lots of reasons, but yeah. So if you had anything to advise on that too, Bambi, we'd love to hear it.
We are out in the community a lot. I make a huge effort to have relationships with the schools. They actually put out our calendar with a lot of emphasis on the fact that everything is free. A lot of people don't come to the library because they don't really believe that everything is free anymore. So we do a lot of emphasis on everything is free. So I go to a lot of school events. My last library system, we had a county fair we had a booth up at the county fair, and we would sign people up for summer reading while they were there at the fair. Gosh, what else have we done? We go and speak at like Rotary meetings and things like that in the community. Anything in the community that I can get involved with. Like, I have a limit of 10 events that I'm willing to go to every month, and once those are full, they're full. But I take open requests up until that point. Trying to think of what else. I have a lot of community partners. I bring in a lot of the partners from the community to assist with programming or provide their own programming. We have a lot of teens that are here throughout the school year. And so our community has really stepped up to partner with a lot of programming. The only reason we have so many teens is because we are right next to a high school. So they all walk over here and wait for their parents to pick them up. And we really use that to our advantage while they're here. A lot of our kids are in daycare, so we don't see them during the school year because they're either at school or in daycare. So we make a lot of trips out to the daycares. And as a result, during the summertime, the daycares that are still open in the summertime will come to a lot of our summer programming as field trips. Do you host these programs on a daily or weekly basis? A lot of our teen programs are monthly, but that's just so we have enough to where we have our program room open and available to them every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we already know every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we are doing a program for teens, no matter who's doing it. We have story times every week. We have our Lego club, and our team STEAM program is once a month, and those are school age programs. And then whenever we are able to have performers, we just kind of fit that into the schedule. And so like our Lego program and our team STEAM program are the second and fourth Saturday of every month. So those kind of are very set. The rest of them, we kind of fit them in because we have to move them around for school breaks. If the school isn't in session, we don't have kids in our building. Any other questions?
I don't see any. We got about 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, I only have one slide, so that works out. So this is my contact information, my email, my number here at the library. That's my Pinterest name, if you just want to search me on Pinterest, but I know she provided the link. I am all up for collaboration and networking. So on that Pinterest page, I am happy to create a board on a certain topic and add people as collaborators, and we can all drop stuff in there. I feel like sharing is caring. So the more people working together, the more people, you know, throwing in their ideas, it's just going to benefit everyone.
Fabulous. And we do still have some time to take more questions if folks have them, but I went ahead and put the LEU, the continuing education certificate form that so you go to that link, fill out your information, and then I will send you an LEU certificate basically if you need one of those. And again, just in case anyone missed it, we will be sending out to those who registered for this webinar the recording once it's available, along with all the resources that Bambi has talked about, a link to her Pinterest, the slides. Yeah. So
I'm going to do my best to find the links for the pixelated picture and the post-it notes.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, Bambi. But again, if folks want to continue with any last minute questions, we can certainly stick around and do that. Thanks to anyone watching this as a recording.